The NBA MVP race is as wide open as I can ever remember. Seriously, can you guys ever remember a year where the award has been this wide open? Where it's been more than two, maybe even three guys where you're like, they could win it? It feels like right now, I would say there's probably five or more guys you can make a legitimate case for to win the award. And the reason for that being is the consensus. We'll say the consensus. I'm a Sixers fan, and I am absolutely heartbroken for Joel Embiid, him going down with that injury. He probably may not play another regular season game this season, and even if he does, he's already ineligible to win the award. He was the runaway favorite. He led the league in scoring. The Sixers were a high seed in the Eastern Conference. He was dominant on both ends of the court. You could argue he was the best player, the best two-way player, arguably the best player in the NBA. Well, I'm here to simplify this for you. I think there's a case for like five guys, and we're gonna name them really quickly. But one name to me really stands out more than all the others. And when you're talking about the NBA MVP award, we're talking about a narrative-driven award. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into the award. A lot of it has to do with team success, the individual, their numbers, the votes, all that stuff. Even the market that the player plays in, by the way, can factor into this. But the MVP award is a very, very narrative driven award. You've seen it time and time again in NBA history. Just look at this past year. Joel Embiid deserved it this past year, and he won it. But I think his numbers and even the eye test were more impressive than anybody else last year, so I get why he won the award. But you could make the case yet again for Jokic last year. It was a two-player race. But Embiid had the narrative behind him because Ben Simmons quit. His sidekick quit. James Harden comes in. There's that whole situation that goes on. There's some friction there, yet Embiid still puts the Sixers on his back, puts up absolutely dominant numbers. Now, the five guys we're talking about here are, well, yet again, Jokic, Jayson Tatum's in there. You got to throw Giannis in there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic. There's a few other guys just hanging around there that you could throw in there as well. If you want to throw in Kawhi Leonard, you want to throw in Jalen Brunson, you want to talk about a narrative. Jalen Brunson certainly has it. That New York market, the Knicks are relevant, top seed in the East yet again. Got to throw Anthony Edwards in there just for how dominant he's been, but also his team is a top seed in the Western Conference. But one of these names, ladies and gentlemen, is not like the other. That is the 24 Slovenian superstar, Luka Doncic. Ladies and gentlemen, he deserves the award. I bet it 2 weeks ago. Plus 2,200 odds, ladies and gentlemen. I locked in my Luka Doncic to win MVP ticket. Let's take a look today, Monday, February 26th. Let's look at the sports books. Luka went from over plus 2,000 odds to win the award to, depending on the sports book, I'm seeing plus 600, plus 700, even a plus 500 here. I believe that's points bet. How about that? He has the third highest odds. Jokic has the best odds right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has the second best odds. So Luka is only trailing them. And you're probably wondering if, look, I am a passionate sports fan, all right? And I'm making a video here breaking down the NBA MVP discussion. Now, there's many, many different types of NBA fans of all ages, mindset, all of that stuff, right? There's casual fans, there's hardcore, there's this new internet wave of people, whatever you want to call them. But I'd imagine if you've watched the NBA this year, if you used your eyes, who has been the best player in the NBA? Be honest with me. It's Luka. He's got the most impressive numbers. That's the thing with Luka. He's quietly put up like historic all-time great NBA numbers over the last couple years, but this year more than any, and we're really going to dive into it. So last year, the Mavericks missed the playoffs, so obviously Luka wasn't going to be like, first of all, he wasn't going to win the award, obviously, but he wasn't going to be a favorite. Check this out. So last season, Luka Doncic averaged 32.4 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, and 8 assists per game, which was 8th. It left him 8th in the NBA MVP voting, 8th place. This season, 34.3 points per game, which would lead the NBA, even though Embiid, whatever, that's entirely another thing. It's a career high. Luka's leading the NBA in scoring for all active players, playing 8.8 rebounds per game, 9.6 assists per game, which is a career high, and it's third in the NBA. Luka Doncic is third in the NBA in assists. He's trailing only Tyrese Halliburton, who's averaging 11.7, I want to say, and Trae Young. Now, the difference between those two is Halliburton's averaging, 22, 24 points per game? Halliburton's been awesome. I mean, there was a point in time where you could throw him in the MVP conversation. But Luka's averaging 34. He's number one in scoring and third in assists per game. He's shooting 49% from the field, which is just around a career high. And he's also shooting a career high in threes, both in percentage as well as attempts. So he's attempting more threes per game, more all-around shots, and he's shooting the highest percentage of his career. And we're going to get back into the narrative thing really quickly. That 73-point game against the Hawks, they needed every ounce of contributions from him to do that. That 73-point game, which will be remembered forever, one of the most impressive score. Like, it's the NBA. Guys are scoring more now. We get it. But 73 points, like, you start tallying this stuff up. Now, as of right now, the Mavericks are the 8th seed in the West. And they trail, so it's a tight-knit race from pretty much the 8th seed to about the 5th seed. Everybody's within a half game of each other. And actually, the Mavericks have the tiebreaker over the Phoenix Suns due to that victory they just had over them last week, right after the All-Star game. So if they're able to catch them in the standings, they will have the tiebreaker over the Suns. So the Mavericks could go from really the 8th seed to around the 5th seed in the West. And even the 4th seed, they're only about 3.5 or 4 games back of the 4th seed in the West, which is currently the LA Clippers. Now, the reason to be optimistic about the Mavericks potentially climbing up in the standings is they have the 21st hardest strength of schedule. So when you compare that to a lot of the other teams, it's a fairly easy schedule. They have a few marquee matchups against teams with MVP candidates. So obviously we talk about this narrative thing. All eyes will be on those games. Another reason to not only, one, be optimistic that this Mavericks team led by Luka Doncic can climb up the Western Conference standings is, and you also tie it in yet again to this narrative thing I keep bringing up, is Kyrie Irving missed a lot of games this season. A few of their role players were out with injuries, and Luka still found a way to just dominate and just keep the Mavericks afloat, keep them afloat. They're in the 8th seed. Well, all those guys are back. They made two really big, in my opinion, underrated trade deadline acquisitions. They got P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford. Both bring a lot of size and versatility as well as defense, which is something the Mavericks have always needed. They've always just needed more defense. It's definitely been the weaker part of their team, but now they have that. And by the way, Gafford, that's a big pickup when you think about the Western Conference, especially in the postseason, because there are a lot of teams in the West that have good big men. That's the key. Obviously, the Nuggets with Jokic. You can look at some of the other teams. The Lakers obviously have Anthony Davis. The Timberwolves, loaded big men there, obviously. So a few other teams I'm probably forgetting off the top of my head. But, man, oh, man, I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for him hard. He's got the narrative. I mean, I think everything backs Luka. They just need to win games. I'm not even here to slander Jokic. I'm not here to slander Shai, but Luka is better than both of them. I think I hate to break it to you, but it's a business at the end of the day, and I think he's more marketable than both guys. I mean, unfortunately, the Oklahoma City Thunder are one of the smallest, if not, it's one of the smallest market teams in the NBA, and I really don't mean to take away from them because Shai is having an awesome season. I can make a video just breaking down his season alone, but Luka is literally impacting the game everywhere. Shai is too, but the thing is, that team is loaded. That Thunder team is really, really good. They're an underrated team if you look at them besides Shai on that team, and even the Nuggets, like, they have a much better roster than the Mavericks. That's really been the thing. But this Mavericks team, I think I believe in this roster now. Obviously, I'm sitting here making this about an individual award. But I tell you what, the Mavericks are slowly becoming a team that you may not want to face or run into in the playoffs because they're starting to heat up, build team chemistry. They're healthy. And Luka's playing the best ball of his career on both ends of the court. We're talking historic stuff. We're talking like, I'm not calling him the GOAT, but it rivals like GOAT status stuff that we've seen in the NBA. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new. We upload damn near daily stuff here on the Daily Drip. This is a sports channel. You can find out more details about me and everything like that in the description down below. I'm on all social media platforms, and I would love to hear from you guys, love to get involved in the conversation. You can follow me on all social platforms. Everything's linked in the description. I will catch you in the next one.